Hey everyone, welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're diving straight into something I find absolutely fascinating, the concepts of market dominance and value innovation. We're going to look at how some of the world's most successful corporate giants and even some brilliant little startups manage to just absolutely carve out their empires. Have you ever wondered why some companies fight these bloody, exhausting battles for every single customer, while others seem to just effortlessly sail into open waters and completely redefine the game? Well, grab your notepad because we are unpacking the revolutionary frameworks of red and blue ocean strategy. Okay, let's dive into this. Here is our roadmap for today. First, two oceans of strategy. Then, Google versus Microsoft. Next, measuring the market value. After that, beyond tech, food innovation. And finally, making competition irrelevant. All right, part one, two oceans of strategy. So, to really grasp how companies truly dominate, we first need to picture the entire marketplace as an ocean. A red ocean is basically every industry that exists right now. It's a saturated market space, the boundaries are strictly defined, everybody accepts the rules, and companies are just duking it out to grab a slightly bigger share of the exact same demand. And as that space gets more crowded, well, your prospects for profits and growth shrink. Products just turn into commodities, and that cutthroat competition turns the water bloody. Hence, the red ocean. On the flip side, we have the blue ocean. This represents all the industries that do not exist today. It's totally uncharted territory. It's all about creating an uncontested market space and generating brand new demand. Over here, competition becomes entirely irrelevant simply because the rules of the game haven't even been written yet.
So the crucial point is where you focus your energy. In a red ocean, the focus is exclusively on your current customers and beating out the competition. But the real magic happens in a blue ocean, when you pivot and focus on non-customers. Instead of fighting over the exact same group of people, you're actively trying to increase the size of the industry entirely by attracting folks who have literally never purchased in that space before. You stop making that standard value-cost trade-off. You know, the old idea that you have to choose between high quality or low prices. Instead, you break that trade-off, aligning your entire system to achieve both high differentiation and low cost at the exact same time.
Moving right along to Section 2, Google versus Microsoft. Let's actually anchor this abstract theory to a massive real-world rivalry. 65%. When we're talking about building a blue ocean, this number represents an absolute masterclass. This was Google Search's world market share during the period of our study. Think about it. Google didn't just build another slightly better search engine. No, they built an incredibly fast, highly accurate algorithm that instantaneously ranked documents and images, and by doing so, they made people immensely more productive. They created a veritable blue ocean, capturing this massive wave of uncontested new demand. And this brilliantly illustrates the real-world financial impact of that strategy. Taking a look at the data between the first and second calendar quarters of 2007, the contrast is honestly staggering. Google, our blue ocean superstar, saw its revenues jump by nearly 6%, and its market cap absolutely soared by over 42%, leaping from $142.2 billion to $201.2 billion. Meanwhile, its main red ocean rival at the time, Microsoft, was stuck battling in saturated markets. In that exact same period, Microsoft's sales actually decreased by over 7%, and its market cap crept up by a mere 8%.
Which brings us to Section 3, measuring the market value. Now, to really understand the math here, we need to introduce a pretty fascinating metric called the risk-adjusted differential, or RAD for short. Basically, RAD helps us cross the divide between those red and blue oceans by measuring whether a company is actually translating its sales into real value for its shareholders. It captures the competitive interactions between the markets for customers and the markets for capital.
And here is the absolute aha moment. When you map this out, you see how free markets actually tangibly reward blue ocean value creation over red ocean monopolies. Check this out. During this competitive time frame, Google captured only 22% of the combined revenues between the two companies, but they created a massive 42% of the combined value. Investors rewarded them with a huge premium. Conversely, Microsoft captured 78% of the sales revenues, the lion's share, right? But investors discounted their value relative to that market power, meaning they only created 58% of the shareholder value. The market overwhelmingly rewarded the blue ocean innovator. What we see is that Google's management systematically guided the company to greater relative earnings productivity. In simple terms, they were highly efficient at turning their potential into cold, hard profit over those 9 quarters. Notice how their risk-adjusted differential and their earnings productivity rise right along together with a remarkably strong positive correlation of 0.81. They were effectively firing on all cylinders, maximizing their potential earnings while continuously generating immense shareholder value.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that Microsoft provides the exact mirror opposite of Google's success. During the same period, they charted this zigzagging downward path. Their actual earnings consistently fell short of their theoretical maximum, reaching as low as negative 49%. The correlation here is actually negative 0.21. This is a perfect visual representation of the intense friction and sheer inefficiency of fighting in a heavily saturated red ocean.
All right, on to Section 4, Beyond Tech, Food Innovation.
Now, you might be thinking blue ocean strategies are just for software giants, but for sure they aren't. Think about the food industry, meat specifically. It's a classic red ocean, highly competitive, deeply established players just fighting over pennies. But then along comes Beyond Meat. They didn't just try to make a slightly cheaper veggie burger. They redefined the entire concept of meat by creating these highly realistic plant-based protein alternatives. And here's the genius part. They didn't just target existing vegans. They went after non-customers, a much broader audience of environmentally conscious, health-focused individuals who still really wanted the taste, texture, and look of a real burger. By bridging that gap, they created an entirely new product category where competition was essentially non-existent. This right here is the absolute core of value innovation. It's about simultaneously achieving cost reduction while driving high differentiation. And what's incredibly empowering about this is that value innovation is a massive tool for small businesses too. Our sources point out that minority entrepreneurs, for example, often face systemic barriers, like limited access to traditional bank loans. But by utilizing a blue ocean strategy, by creating highly differentiated, totally unique offerings that resonate with underserved cultural markets, these startups can completely bypass those traditional barriers. They attract unique funding from impact investors and carve out fresh, uncontested demand.
Which leads us to our final stop, Section 5, Making Competition Irrelevant.
Let's move to and see how this builds visually. When we map the distinct advantages of these strategies against each other, a really stark contrast emerges. That tight, red shape represents the red ocean. High competition intensity, sure, but shockingly low innovation potential, market growth, and profit margins. But then look at the massive blue shape stretching outward. That shows how a blue ocean strategy maximizes market growth, profit margins, customer loyalty, and innovation, all while dropping your competition intensity down to near zero. It completely reshapes the landscape in your favor.
So, if you take away only one single thing from this explainer today, let it be this. Break the value-cost trade-off to make the competition irrelevant. You literally do not have to choose between providing high value to your customers and maintaining low costs. True market dominance happens when you rigorously align your whole organization to achieve both, stripping away all the unnecessary costs while completely elevating the things your non-customers actually care about.
So, I want to leave you with this final provocative thought to chew on as you look at your own projects, your own businesses. Take a hard look at your daily operations. Are you constantly fighting tooth and nail over scraps in the bloody waters of a red ocean? Or are you actively innovating, seeking out those non-customers, and sailing toward the boundless potential of the blue? Which ocean are you swimming in? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep innovating.